Hi, I'm Gavin and this is Self-Storage Explained. Expert advice on how to set up and scale your self-storage business. Okay, hello and a big welcome to Paul and Will from Janus and Nokē, the Janus Nokē combo. Thank you very much for joining both. Paul, would you mind starting by introducing yourself, and then Will, please?
Thanks, Gavin, and appreciate the invite today. So I'm Paul Shepherd. I've been with Janus and Nokē for just over 15 years now, and I work as a product account manager for the Nokē Smart Entry product, covering the UK, Europe, and a little bit the Middle East as well.
Thanks, Paul.
Yeah, and I'm Will DeBoard, the Director of Product and Customer Experience for Janus, working with our Nokē product, and I've been working with Janus and Nokē for about 5 years now.
Great. Well, thank you both. This is the first recording I've done where I've got two people joining, especially from two different countries. So, Will, thanks for joining us from the US. I appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So I know quite a bit about Nokē and Janus because in my two sites here I have Nokē and Janus. So that's a good starter for this call. But the purpose of this call is really for people listening to hopefully find out more about the options that they have for smart entry solutions. And lots of our customers use the Nokē system, and I use it, and I've loved it. I have no complaints at all. It's been great. But I suppose the questions I want to go through are really to help people learn about what Nokē is and why it's the benefits to it and the cons, and so we'll go through it. So just to start, could you give us an introduction about what is the Nokē Smart Entry solution? How does it work? And what are the different ways that people implement it on site?
Yeah, thanks, Gavin. Yeah, so I think I always like to start by saying there's three parts to the Nokē Smart Entry solution. We offer a mobile app, which is allows people to access facilities using Bluetooth on their mobile device. Mm-hmm. We offer a Nokē admin dashboard web portal, we call it, where you can go in and view information about your facility amongst a myriad of different things. And then probably the most critical part that is the Nokē Smart Entry hardware that we offer. And we offer solutions to allow keyless entry to both entry points of a building, be that gates, man doors, roller shutters. We offer solutions for lifts as well, and also on the on-door lock solutions, product that many people in the industry will have heard of is our Nokē One product, which is our on-door battery-powered lock, which again can be accessed with the smartphone app. Mm-hmm. We also have, alongside that, a couple of other products that are not as commonly used in the European market. So we have Nokē Pads or Nokē Screen, we call them, which essentially is a 2-in-1 device where you can use a mobile app or also have access to a PIN code. In the European market, generally that's used for multi-use buildings where there might be a different business within a compound, or access for the emergency services. And in other sectors as well, we also have a Nokē padlock that we use called the HD padlock. Generally don't use that in self-storage for a number of different reasons, and it's not as tied into our Nokē cloud solution, so reporting information to the cloud and such like, but we do see it in other markets. And I think in terms of solutions available, the last one that we're starting to dive into a little bit more over the last 12 months, I would say, is retrofit solutions. So we've been looking at ways to fit our smart lock hardware to other vendors' doors, to allow us to integrate Nokē into either facilities where we're doing currently a new phase, or facilities that have been around for a few years that want to modernize their access control solution, and we'll go in there and install Nokē smart locks and access control to the entry points, but primarily focusing on the solutions we can find to deliver a smart lock solution for older properties.
Okay, so that retrofit, is that something you're currently doing and is available to UK and European operators if they wish to put Nokē into existing doors?
Exactly, that's correct. Yep. So we've done around 30 to 40 sites now with retrofit solutions.
Yes.
and we'll continue to come across and develop different solutions. We may not have a solution at this point for every door out there, but we continue to investigate and adapt to the requirements as we speak to individual operators.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, I remember hearing that a year or two ago, and so that's an exciting development actually for operators who want to get the Nokē system into an existing facility that wasn't maybe done by Janus.
Exactly, it allows people to modernize their facility. As we all know, the technology landscape's changing, and the opportunity to be able to bring facilities up to current standards it's great for operators to be able to leverage that now.
One of the things I'm always really interested in is the end user experience. So how does that work with Nokē? So let's say you're an operator, you install Nokē, then a customer comes and books the unit and is moving in, say tomorrow. Can you talk through? And I have a fair idea how this works because I have my own site. But can you talk through what is the customer experience with whenever you have Nokē on the site?
Yeah, absolutely. So when a customer books a unit, however they decide to do it, most customers are booking online now. But when the customer books the unit, the management system sends us the information. So we get the tenant name, what their phone number, and what entry points they should have access to, what locks they should have access to. So immediately we set up that account, send a text message to the tenant. They download the app, use temporary password, set up their real password, and they have immediate access to the facility. So if they're renting at 8 p.m. on a Sunday and they want to start moving things in immediately, they can do that. If they want to wait a day, they can wait. No need to go in and get a padlock or anything from the actual facility. So it just allows them to move in on their own terms. If they have a mover, they can share their access with a mover for 24 or 48 hours or indefinitely. And it really puts the whole experience in the tenant's hands, right? They're deciding who has access to their unit when, they're deciding when they move in, and it's just really all up to the tenant. So when they get to the actual facility, kind of the app experience is they'll get up close to the first entry point, whether that's a gate, sliding door, whatever the entry point is. The icon for the entry will highlight, tap the icon to open up, and get to their unit, wake their lock just by touching the touch sensor and unlocking the same way they open the entry point. The icon highlights and they tap the icon. So pretty straightforward and easy for people to pick up pretty immediately.
Yeah, and I've been with some of my customers before where I've watched them go through this process. So I've met in my first year or so of my site, I met people sometimes and kind of helped them move in, or just I wanted to observe what happened. And sometimes, they got the text message, they downloaded the app, they got in, just as you said, and immediately they can see on their screen, the buttons. So I remember the couple of things that worth mentioning. They needed to turn on Bluetooth. Sometimes some people didn't have Bluetooth turned on. That was right. So that's still the case. It's a Bluetooth system, isn't that right? That's
correct. So they are prompted when going into the app, hey, allow us access to your Bluetooth and turn that on. For Android customers, they also have to turn on location services because just the way Bluetooth works on Android, they have to have that bit on. But that's all within the app. The app is walking you through what permission to turn on your phone and making sure that you have everything on so you can access. It actually will pop up a banner on the bottom if you turn off Bluetooth and then open up the app. It'll pop up a banner saying, please enable Bluetooth to use Nokē Smart Entry. Okay. Yeah, that's great. And I remember this elderly couple actually moving in one time, and I was sort of worried. I thought, this isn't going to go well. But they downloaded the app, and
they said to me, "I can't believe that this place exists in this town." Like they couldn't believe how advanced the facility was, and like it was a great experience. I remember, and I think once or twice out of hundreds of people, I've maybe had the odd phone call. Oh, I can't remember my iTunes password. that's happened one or two times. Like there's nothing you can do with that. That's just that's unsolvable if you're downloading an app. But other than that, like, I've had so many, like the vast majority, 99%, being very, very positive solutions. So in the case where somebody mightn't have a smartphone, you also do have fobs. And is that still something that you do? Because I have fobs. I actually bought 10 whenever I had my installation done, and I still have 9 almost 5 years later. So I haven't actually been asked for any apart from one. But is that something that's still an option?
Yes, we do still have fobs as an option. We have, across our portfolio, I think it's maybe 2% of tenants are using fobs, and that's viewed by a couple of random facilities. But for the most part, they're not used. And I would say specifically in the European market, it's probably 0.5%. That actually utilize the fob option, but it's there if anybody should need that option.
Yeah. And Paul, you mentioned the online system as well, which is it's not something I go into very often, but I do remember one time one of my customers had dumped a load of wardrobes at the front of my facility. I had a skip sitting there for a few days, and they must have thought it was just a free skip they could fill, so they dumped a pile of stuff as they were moving out. And I went on CCTV and I saw them moving out, but the only way I knew who it was by going into the Nokē log and saying, who was it opening and closing the doors at the time, because I had no way of knowing. I hadn't met the customer, so I didn't know. So I remember using it for that. So that's where your customer logs are coming in and out. Well, actually coming in, I believe, mostly, maybe depending how you operate it. But is there anything else that system is useful for?
Yeah, I think there's a few other things to mention. That all of our entry points and locks are cloud connected at all times, and that allows them to send information to and from the cloud. So obviously, as you mentioned, Gavin, the passing activity information when things happen to the cloud, but also it's allowing information to come inside the facility. So for example, operators can remotely open entry points if they want to allow somebody who's not set up on the app into the building. We've even seen a trend towards, particularly with remotely managed facilities, where you can actually remotely open a vacant unit as well. So what we've seen is people coming in, people doing tours of sites, allowing people to show them around, check if the unit size is correct for them. If it's not, show them a different unit, and actually not having to actually visit the site to allow them to have access. Other things that we can do remotely, for example, if it's a busy site, you can remotely hold open the gates and things, so you can keep them open for 1 hour without having to use the app for every interaction, and then allow that to be closed either at any point in the future or a fixed time. And then from, I think, just the other side of that, from a maintenance perspective, being cloud connected and online, it's allowing us to understand what's happening on the facility. So locks are checking in with their status, be that, the battery life, be that the unit's not connected, or perhaps, we've detected a security alert inside a unit. It's allowing all that information to be filtered in almost real time to the cloud, and that can then be distributed to operators via a notification system to allow early warning of incidents immediately, or just like you said, when you log into the dashboard, to actually be able to see a summary of all the information recording, be it activity, unlocked units, amongst many other things that you can see from the data.
And a part of the Nokē solution as well is so security is an issue, obviously, and we hear a little bit more about in the UK, a couple more break-ins and things that are happening. And I've heard recently about this concept of tunneling, which is somebody takes out a unit, and then they go into the unit, and then they actually tunnel through into the next unit and the next unit. It's actually a pretty effective way to get into lots of units and get all the valuable stuff out. It's also quite hard to catch. Because it might be a week or two before it's even discovered. The Nokē solution also comes with some unit alarms. Can you explain how they work as well, please?
Yeah, yeah. So, we see all over the world, different kind of break-in tactics, but tunneling or going over the partition into a neighboring unit is something we've seen in different areas, and our locks have a motion detector looking into the unit. So if somebody goes into their own unit that they've rented, closes the door down, and then they start going into other units, figuring out a way to get into other units, they'll be caught essentially by the motion detection inside of each unit. And the notifications that are configurable, so they can go to somebody's smartphone through a push notification. They can come through an email or a text message. So essentially the operator can be alerted right away when there's a security situation and people are breaking into units.
So if you're using a monitoring service, so if somebody's monitoring your CCTV, for example, they could also be receiving those emails or text messages to kind of catch that pretty soon. So tunneling really, because I have these in my units as well, tunneling I imagine would not be possible. I mean, the alarms would go off as you move into the units.
Right.
Yeah, because they're not, the nice thing about tunneling, the reason I guess it works is if you've got door alarms, you're not actually touching the doors, so you can kind of go in the side wall instead. Okay, all right.
Yeah, I think the first instance we heard about somebody breaking into a unit with Nokē Smart Entry was this kind of scenario where they closed down their unit door and attempted to go over the partition into another unit, and the notification went off. The facility personnel responded, and they didn't catch the person necessarily in the act, but they figured out by the activity combined with the CCTV footage who did it, and made an arrest about a day later.
Oh, okay, nice one. Okay. So I've got a couple of questions more about sort of practicality. So if you decide the Nokē system's for me, what do operators need to know? So, for example, do you need power at every door? Do you need power at every gate? Do you need internet? What's the kind of further requirements on installation?
Yes, sure, Gavin. So, essentially, there's three main aspects to it. There is power, data, as in data cables, network cables that allow us to build what we call our mesh network infrastructure, and there is also the option of having Wi-Fi available at the facility as well. So if I start with the power, generally because we have our Nokē One battery-powered smart locks, you don't need power at every unit. Generally, power is required where we put a hardwired, powered controller at the gate or the entry doors of the facility. We also install in the technical room or the comms room a network switch to allow us to communicate with our devices. That generally requires power supply in the technical room. And then on top of that, we install around the building what we call our Nokē gateways. They're essentially devices that allow our locks to send data to the cloud. And we install generally one of those at each entry point, and then a few locations within the storage facilities. Probably if you were to say one every 50 units would be a rough estimate, but it depends on the layout of the building and the facility. And we need network cables running from the comms room out to each of those locations before we install Nokē, and we will just plug our device and connect that into that when we're on site completing the install. And I think just the last piece to go to that is with our mobile app, we have a digital key solution within our mobile app that essentially allows tenants, so when they visit the facility for the first time each calendar day, their app will do a validation to authenticate the digital key. The reason we do that is that if somebody then goes into the storage facility and they don't have, data connection via the mobile or the app, they can then get what we call offline access to the unit. So the app will communicate purely using Bluetooth and allow them to access the unit. The critical piece to that is when the tenant visits their first point of entry at arrival at the facility, they will need a data connection on their mobile device for a few seconds to complete that authentication process when they unlock the gate or the door. Usually, in most cases, mobile data is perfectly fine for that. But if somebody doesn't have a data plan, or on occasions it's not a great signal area for a 4G or a 5G connection, then we do suggest that you may want to install Wi-Fi within the facility, predominantly at the main points of entry, just as a backup to make sure it's a seamless experience for the people visiting the site. But other than that, that's the 3 main requirements for Nokē Smart Entry.
Yeah, and one point with the digital key process, so the tenant doesn't realize this is going on. This is just happening in the background as they open up their app. The app is going and saying, all right, are you still in good standing, or are you overlocked? Did you move out? They're just essentially making sure the tenant's in good standing, and once it sees, okay, yep, they're good to go, just refreshes the key for them, and they can, like Paul said, lose data connection, go into the building, where there are dead spots everywhere, and still get into their unit.
That's really, I didn't realize that, but I was wondering, because one of my sites has really bad internet, and so that is why I don't get all these calls saying I can't get into my room, because they obviously have internet on the way in, and that's enough then. Even if they lose all connection inside the building, the Bluetooth kicks in and works. So that's that explains that. Okay, and so one of the things we often get asked is, how do we integrate Stora with Nokē? I'm sure it's the same for other software products out there as well. So generally, I'm not talking about Stora specifically. Generally, what's the kind of process with connecting it to a self-storage software product? And I suppose one of the things I also do they have to integrate much with Nokē? Because if they're using Stora, we take care of all the communication with Nokē on the operator's behalf, and all the stuff gets kind of that thing Will you described where you receive the email address and the phone number. That's all sent by our system.
Correct.
So I'm sure they're all the same. But what's generally the process for connecting your Nokē system to the software? I guess somebody's on site, and then there's a code, and how does that normally work?
So from the kind of onboarding perspective, essentially what we do is match up our unit lock list with Stora, and from then on, when a tenant rents a unit, we're sent that information from Stora right away. Email address, phone number, name, units rented, just pretty basic information. Then when a tenant goes into overlock, whether that's whether you're doing first of month or anniversary billing, we get that update straight away and restrict access. When the tenant pays, we get another update from the management system, and we restore access right away. So we use a standard set of webhooks that the management system hits when different events happen, and it's really seamless, quick, and updates come through to us in a matter of seconds.
Yeah, it is great. So we have customers. We allow our customers to drive up to our gate. Sorry, we allow non-customers to drive up to our gate, go to our website on their phone, book a unit, pass their ID check, sign the contract, and just immediately get a text message from Nokē. So I'll often on a Sunday afternoon just receive a message on my phone saying somebody's booked and they've moved in, and I'll be able to look in Stora and see they've paid and they're in unit number whatever, and they're happily in there. And so it's it's a great experience for customers, and it's a great experience for me too, because that's just such a nice way to sell self-storage. But it also works similarly with non-payments. So if the payments fail, our system messages people, but we've communicated with your system and say this person isn't paid, and they can be locked out. But the second they pay, our system will send a message to Nokē and say they paid now, they can get in. So people can go to the gate and actually sort out their late payment right there and then, and just get straight back in again. So it's a pretty slick system, I have to say. And do you have the ability to let customers have restricted hours? So some operators might let people move in 9 to 5 or have access 9 to 5 Monday to Saturday, and then you might have. One question I wanted to ask was about access hours. So some operators want to let customers move in 9 to 5 or have access 9 to 5 Monday to Saturday, and then maybe upsell on additional hours of access. Is that something that your system can handle?
Yeah, absolutely. So we have different schedules essentially that can be assigned to tenants. So that can be done through the portal. So if you rent a unit to somebody that you want to give 24-hour access to for some sort of upcharge, that can be edited on the tenant's profile in our web portal. And we have also recently added support to receive that through our webhooks, through our integrations. So that can now be, it's fairly recent, but that can now be sent to us during the onboarding process for a tenant, and we can give that tenant automatically extended hours or default hours, whatever the case may be.
That's interesting, Will. So that would allow us, because we handle the checkout in store, handling the checkout and the even upsells, we could potentially be in store handling that upsell, and then our system will know that and could send that information directly to you. So the operator, once we support that, the operator could potentially be setting that up, and that could be just completely automated too, which would be nice, because it's a great way to upsell. Even just if it's just Sunday access or 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. whatever it might be. So that's good to know. One thing we get asked a lot, we have a lot of customers who have container sites, and they also, lots of them want to automate letting people in and out, and also managing moving into the containers. And we do have some customers who have used the Nokē solution at their container site, and what they've generally done is bought the containers, but then either added your doors or added your roller shutter door, and then put Nokē on that. Is that the application of Nokē you would see in container sites, or is there other ways to use it as well?
That's what I've seen for the most part. Don't know, Paul, if you've seen otherwise.
Yeah, I think predominantly that's the way we've seen it. It's obviously in a mixture, like you say, of entry only with the standard, container padlock on the rooms, or the conversion kits that where they're converting it to either smaller units, or putting a roller door on the end, and generally that works. I think that's in keeping with our whole, the product philosophy as well, in terms of the being cloud connected. So we really want to, if we want to install Nokē, we want to make sure that we're installing our the Nokē One Smart Locks, which are designed to fit a storage door. Mm-hmm. Just really to make sure that we're offering the full benefits of the product to the container sites as well as the internal storage customers.
Yeah, and what we've seen a lot, particularly in the US, is instead of doing container sites on those same kinds of properties, we've seen people use the mass units, so the mobile storage unit with a Janus roller door, already fitted out, and it's basically the same application as container storage, but a little more purpose built for the storage industry. Okay.
Great. And is Nokē, if you're an operator in anywhere in the world, is it available anywhere in the world, or do you just support certain countries for now?
Yeah, I would say that we support. We're a global business. Janus has and Nokē have offices in primarily USA, Europe, and Australasia. But we've got facilities obviously started in the US, Canada, Mexico, UK, majority of Europe, Australia, New Zealand, to name a few. What we do as well with our mobile app as well, we have a number of different languages in the app. We've done the majority of the European countries that we've developed into. We've developed language translations for both the app and the web portal. And we have a translation service that we use. So should we move into a new market, if we feel that needs, or the operator feels that needs local language in the app, then we will get the app translated. We can usually do that within 6 to 8 weeks. A development period, we can have that completed. It's a fairly quick process to ensure that we can give the best experience locally.
Okay, thanks, Paul. One of the things that, so having my own unmanned sites here in Northern Ireland and with Nokē there, we do things like the remote tours. So we've been giving people tours since we opened over the phone, which is great. One of the downsides, one of the only limitations I see with an unmanned site, and this is not to do with Nokē, but a limitation is that if you've no staff there, then some businesses, when they want to store things, they kind of want more a service as well. So they want to be able to send deliveries there, pallets there, and I know lots of the bigger self-storage operators will handle those sort of customers and maybe charge per pallet and charge for receiving deliveries. If you've got an unmanned site, that's kind of impossible. You don't have somebody there with a forklift. So, but there probably are some ways to more cleverly handle deliveries potentially. Is this something that you have ever you've any experience of with your customers who are using Nokē? How are operators trying to solve this problem of giving business customers a bit more service, even in an unmanned site? So one of the issues that I've found with my own sites here is with unmanned sites, one of the limitations is business customers often want to, who are using storage will want to receive deliveries like pallets and maybe Amazon deliveries. And if you've not got staff there who can drive a forklift or whatever else, that's just not possible. And so it's one of the limitations. If sometimes I have a business customers ring up to inquire and we just haven't been able to bring them on. Obviously, you can't, without a forklift driver, there's no forklift driver, you can't unload pallets. But have you come across any quite innovative ways that some of your operators who are using Nokē have managed to provide some sort of additional service to businesses for accepting deliveries at an unmanned site?
Yeah, so one that we see semi-often is the business customer will give the operator access to their unit. They'll do a key share with the facility personnel. And what that allows the operator to do is open that unit remotely. So when a delivery driver gets there, they'll be instructed to essentially call the operator's number, and they just in the web portal or in the smartphone app remotely open that lock, and the delivery courier can essentially deliver straight into the unit. So that's probably the most common way I've seen to really allow business customers to get deliveries. Paul, I'm not sure if you've seen any other ways to do that.
Yeah, I've seen a similar take on the the typical delivery unit that some operators have, where they can allow a delivery company to deliver to one unit, and that's really using all the other tools that the technology tools, your remote open facility, your CCTV, so they can allow a remotely open a delivery unit for a driver. They've got the cameras there, so it's completely secure, monitored. They can monitor when they left the unit that it's re-secured again and follow that process, so they can minimize the risks of just allowing someone just to go into a unit without any controls in place. So that's the other application that we've seen people do, particularly with remotely managed facilities.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thanks very much. Well, so before we finish, is there anything that I haven't asked about that you think would be important for somebody considering their options to know about the Nokē system?
Yeah, sure. Just a couple of things just to touch on. I think that obviously I think we've spoke to your team, Gavin, a few times, over the history of Edge Facility. There are times when, there is some support needed from the Nokē team, and, we have a local support team based in Europe, but because of our global nature, we have, a worldwide support team that can handle giving us global support backup out of ours. And you can contact, we can be contacted via phone, email, chat, pretty much around the clock. So, we will endeavour to, help solve as many things as we can, on first time call when people contact us. And I think the second part of that is in terms of our offering. We like to obviously we believe we sell a quality product, and as part of our install, once that's completed, we do provide a 2-year warranty on our hardware. So we're covering that for the initial lease up period of the facility and onwards as well. But we're making sure that people have the confidence that our product is, it's built to last, and it's going to be great for their facility as they onboard their customers.
Yeah, and just to piggyback a little bit on the question earlier about where we're available. As Paul mentioned, we're a global company. We've got around over 250,000 devices installed now, and that's in about 30 countries. So it really is a global solution, and we're excited to talk to you about it today.
Yeah, mate. Well, it's been great. I've learned some new stuff, even though I have them on my site. So it's been great to hear about some of those things. So thank you very much. I have no other questions. You've answered everything really well. So thanks very much for all your time. And I'm sure, Paul, I definitely will see you pretty soon. I'm sure we'll meet at the UK conference. But yeah, thanks again.
Look forward to it, Gavin, as always, and thanks for your time.
Gavin.
Thanks. Thank you for listening to Self-Storage Explained, where we aim to provide expert advice on how to set up and scale your self-storage business. For more resources, including financial models and in-depth guides for setting up or growing your business, visit our Self-Storage Academy at stora.co, that's stora.co/academy. And if you would like to find out more about how Stora can help your business grow sales and save time, set up a demo or contact us at stora.co, that's stora.co. Thank you.